Hey, all you holistic hipsters out there, it's that time. So grab your chalice of choice and sit back and sip along with us. We would love to welcome you to the Tea Podcast, where we spill the tea on all things holistic in the pet grooming industry. Let me introduce you to our hostesses with the mostesses.
She is the socialite of skin and coat care, Ms. Michelle Knowles.
And the queen bee of all things oily, Ms. Melissa Conti-Diener. Brought to you by TheOilyGroomer.com. Are you searching for a new and more mindful way of grooming? Interested in understanding how to grow your grooming business with a more holistic and organic approach? Please contact Melissa Conti-Diener at TheOilyGroomer.com so that you can set up a meeting and bring balance and prosperity to your life. And AllThingsPaw.com. Intermediate and advanced courses in pet esthetician work, fear recovery, animal handling, and more. Get your learn on with All Things Paw. Also, classes with Melissa, online and self-guided, intuitive energy work, transitional therapy, and compassionate touchpoint therapy, and more. And the Herbal Paw Pet Apothecary, tailored for the individual pet, phone consultations, history gathering, and the home of the Herbal First Aid Kit.
Now, let's get the tea party started.
Hi. I was listening to the intro and I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to unmute and talk now. All right, here we are.
We're back. We're here. It's us. What's in your cup? You got a cup of something?
I do have a cup. It's my All Things Paw mug that you can get at spring.com.
Look at that.
Oh, it tastes so delicious coming in. Another one.
It tastes even better coming from that cup, right?
Yes, it does. That's a Campy cup. There's a mug and there's some shirts. But I may include also some like hoodies and things like that are also on there. So I still have to go through the list and see what I want to offer. It does come in different colors, but I just like the white background with the logo. But if you want something, let me know and I can arrange to have it.
Hook me up. All right. Very nice.
So nice. I just have a chamomile and clove. That's what I'm rocking. I've been doing that for a couple weeks now. So
yes, I'm boring too today. Nothing extremely volatile. Just some raspberry leaf tea in my Persian cat cup. That was a gift from Erin. It says cats and coffee, but it's cats and tea in this cup.
And nothing wrong with that. They'll knock them both off the countertop. So
that is very true. And Mr. White must be sleeping. So hopefully he'll remain that way so that he doesn't come in and start bothering us and wanting to put his butthole in front of the camera. Like,
you know what? I was just getting ready to say, we haven't seen his butthole in a while. So,
yeah.
Maybe he'll make an appearance.
Oh, you never know. I had people come to the house because I'm going to watch their dogs, and they wanted to come and just see everything and meet me. And of course, he had to be in the mix of everything. And she was just like, I think your cat thinks he's a dog. I said, no, I think my cat knows he's a cat, and he thinks he's in charge of everything, including the dogs.
Yes, that is it. Because isn't he?
Yeah. Actually, he is. So.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that is the deal with Mr. White. His brother, Mr. Black, nobody ever sees. He's very social.
He's like, I'm not in charge of nothing. Leave me alone.
Nope. He's Greta Garbo. He's want to be alone all the time. So he comes out.
So what are we talking about?
Oh, I think we are talking about one of the questions that we get asked quite a bit. How do I become a speaker?
this?
Yes, if you want to teach, then teach. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is a really good topic, and I think it's very appropriate. There's still so few of us in the industry and so many pets to serve. So, I mean, teaching at any level or to any audience,
Yes.
I think is really, really important. People don't realize that it can become quite an echo chamber just to teach within the industry. There's 9 billion pet owners or some such out there. Teach to them, teach to trainers, teach to veterinarians, teach your neighbors, teach everyone. So there are opportunities available even from without the industry rather than from within.
Right.
So it's an open field, really, at this point. I think the most important advice I ever got, I was in a friend once told me, and that was right after we got out of high school. I was sad because I couldn't do something, like went for an audition to sing or to dance or whatever, do something at the local thing. And I was upset that I didn't get the part. I was upset that I couldn't do the thing. And he looked at me and he was like, it was a singing thing. He says, if you want to sing, then sing. The opportunities will present themselves. And at the time, I was so little, I was very immature in my head. And it really struck me like, of course, that would be the answer. If you want to groom, groom.
Right.
So if you want to teach, make a class, learn how to do PowerPoint, or at least put slides together in Google Slide. Put it together. What's your topic? I actually have a class that shows you how to put together a presentation so that you can get across. So you can find that at allthingsspa.com. But yeah, absolutely. We encourage people to speak their knowledge. And don't worry if there's a bunch of other people doing it. You have a perspective that no one else has. And you might have a fresh insight on how to teach that. And people will gravitate to you. They'll find their muse in you. So you absolutely should put together a class. What is your passion? That's something that you have to find out also. If you just want to teach, that's kind of generalized. But, Melissa loves oils. So she teaches about oils, and that's how she kind of started. I loved skin, so I just started talking about skin a lot. And somebody was like, hey, you want to talk about this? I was like, let's talk about it, because yes, I would love to talk about that. Just have it available, whether you have a venue for it or not. What do you think, Melissa?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that you just need to venture out there, put one class together, do a freebie first time. For myself, Mary Quendo actually gave me a really good tidbit of advice. She told me, in order to get better, start doing it more and more. And I said, well, how do I get people to come? And she said, it doesn't matter. We have the internet. Just go live from your Facebook page or your Instagram or whatever, and do quick little, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, work up to 30 minutes, teach whatever you want to teach on. And she said, do series, do this, do that. And I took her advice, and if you followed me several years ago, you'll see that, or if you go on my Oily Groomer page on Facebook, all those videos are on there. I used to do a live. I used to have something called The Blend every Sunday that I would talk about different topics, whatnot. It just got me used to putting together something.
Right.
And from there, I started to build actual classes. And so just start to throw your hat in the ring, put your foot, kick in that door and say, okay, I'm here. This is what I'm talking about. Even if nobody else is listening on the other end at that point, it's just for you to start getting comfortable with saying what you want to say.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Start with something that you really love.
Yeah.
If you love doing faces, then do a class on faces. If you love doing really thorough baths, show us what you got, show us a video and talk about that. If you love doing just cats or just Yorkies, start with something small, something that you're really passionate about and you know about. And it's okay if you don't get it 100% right. It's okay if you don't know 100% of everything. You don't have to be an expert because you have to learn, you have to start from somewhere. The only reason I started talking about skin is because I repped for Yves Saint Bernard at the time, and I really loved skin, and no one knew how to use all the shampoos and the conditioners and all the products they have. They have like over 200 different products, more now, I believe. But no one knew how to use it. So my main goal was to help people learn how to put together regimens. That was my whole deal. And I started talking about it, and people started listening. And then you start putting together more and more and more. Well, how do you handle your fearful dogs? How do you handle your mean dogs? Then you put a class together about that, and you build your repertoire over time. Right. And there are applications that you can put into the different expos and things that they are always looking for new speakers. So if you have something that's a little polished and you're ready to go big, try putting in an application on one of those. But I do suggest you always start with something that you really love. If you know how to do a really good short show nail, give us a history of nail trimming, give us the anatomy of the nail, show us how you do it. The sky's the limit, no matter what. If you just do home grooms and don't know anything about proportion, or you're not a certified master groomer, that's okay. You still have value in what you teach. Everyone has a perspective. Everyone can teach someone something. And if you think about it, look at all the people on YouTube that they talk about in the groups. Well, she doesn't know how to do that, and that's not the proper proportion. But guess what? She's doing it.
Exactly.
She's doing it.
Yep.
And guess what? Maybe she didn't know that you weren't supposed to do that, the thing that she's doing, but she knows now, and she'll make another video, and she's doing it. I think the best thing you can do if you want to teach or speak or do something that's not in your comfort zone, but you really long to do it, get out there, put your toe in the water. Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Everybody's looking at you. So there's always going to be people saying you didn't do it good enough. You didn't do this. You didn't do that, because it's not from their perspective.
Right.
It's your perspective that's important, not anybody else's.
I think you're 100% right on what you're saying. I also think that there's opportunity also to write an article and send it in to Barkley, to groomer. Mm-hmm.
Or just start blogging on your own website.
Exactly. I was going to say you can, or do a vlog or a regular blog, or, start putting that content out there. And then market yourself grassroots style, through your...
you got an Instagram account. Say, hey, a new blog's out. Check it out. It's about foot care or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I think that it is one of the things that is the hardest, is just to get over that hump of being afraid. Well, what if somebody says I'm doing this wrong, or that's not the way it's supposed to be done, or somebody somewhere is going to always say that.
I was just getting ready to say that. I'm like, there will always be someone telling you you're not doing it right.
Right.
They don't like you, or they don't like your hair, or they don't like the way you talk, or you don't have a master in something, or you didn't judge a craft show. I mean, come on, whatever. Yep. It doesn't matter. You have something to say it. If you have something that you want to speak out of your heart, then absolutely do it. And you learn. I think that you learn more when you start to teach and when you start to speak, because people ask questions. Yes. If you don't have the answer to those questions, that's okay. So you know what? I don't have the answer today, but I'm going to find out, and I'm going to email you the answer within X amount of days or whatever. I do that all the time. Yeah. Especially at the beginning, people, they would ask questions on stuff I never even thought of. So that just makes you a better teacher. It makes you a more well-rounded groomer, stylist, esthetician, because you get the benefit of all these questions from different perspectives that you never even thought of. And so you have to weave that new information into what you teach or what you speak about. So the best way to build up that portfolio is to just start doing it. Yeah,
you have to get yourself out there. And I've also heard, I would love to teach, or I would love to be a speaker, but I don't know enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you need to find what your passion is and find what that 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 different things that you really feel strongly about,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
get the knowledge so that you can actually relay that in your own way, because
Right.
that's what makes it different.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle and I can get up and we can both teach a class about skin, or and even though we might be presenting the same exact information, it's going to come out very differently because we have our own style.
Mm-hmm.
We have our own antidotes on how to utilize these things. And so you have to be able to pull in your own personal story as well, and your own personality as well, so that you're going to connect with those people that are looking for that connection with you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You're going to attract your own crowd.
Yes.
People who resonate with you are going to be your students, and there are other estheticians, other teachers of esthetician work that are my colleagues, and I love them, but their students really love the way they teach. And my students really love the way I teach. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then you have the crossovers who take all the classes and get something new from each different instructor. So there is nothing wrong with you not being, you don't really want to be like somebody else. You want to be like you, because you will fulfill the niche of people looking for your information.
And we hear this a lot too. I mean, we were kind of gone from the show scene for a little while, but I hear this often when I do talk to other groomers, and that's like, oh, it's the same people with the same class. And so a lot of people are like, oh no, believe me, they're looking for new people.
All
they're
the time.
always
they need fresh.
Yeah.
They want a fresh perspective like everybody else.
Exactly.
And if everyone's so afraid to step up to the plate, we're not going to get any variety.
Right.
You need to switch it up, switch it around. We would love to mentor you, to help you develop and grow. There's a lot of people that need educated about their pets. Other groomers, it's great to teach other groomers coming up. I will never knock that. People who are actively becoming the best groomer that they can be, and eventually, hopefully, a speaker as well and a teacher. But there's a lot of people out there that need this information that aren't within the industry. I'm doing a whole video series directly to the owner. I think they could really use the information to help them take care of their dog and to make better choices when they go to the groomer. So, I mean, there's all kinds. I can't teach everybody all over the world. I mean, that would be really nice, but I'm not set up for that. And my brain can't handle that. I'd like to spread it around. I'm trying to train up as many people as possible who can go out and disseminate this information, because we all have a social circle and a professional circle. And sometimes, a lot of times they do overlap, but there's whole swaths of people who are not being educated, who aren't being served, if you will. So I don't ever want anybody to think, well, I couldn't do that because, I don't know anybody. Well, nobody knew us either at one time. You got to start somewhere.
Bad kids at my house barking. It's one thing to say, I'm going to teach how to do, Asian fusion or actual hair cutting. But there's a lot of other topics that need to be explored that are within our industry and within just the pet owning industry.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't always have to be stuck to the aesthetic of a haircut, and that's what you're teaching. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things like ergonomics, like right now, everything is about social media and digital marketing. And so if you're really good at those things, there's an avenue to present, that information.
Talk about that. Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't, I know I've heard other groomers say, oh, I'm not a good enough groomer to teach other people how to groom or whatever. Well, what are you good at?
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know?
remind yourself, I want to be give you a gentle reminder that you don't have to be a competition groomer to be called a groomer.
Right.
If all I would ask of anybody who wanted to groom, if you can handle correctly and make the dog feel as comfortable as possible and give them a comfort groom, you could hang out a shingle, say, hey, the comfort groomer.
Right.
And that would become your, if you could just give them a nice bath and a nice haircut that, you know, lasts and they're not stinky and mama and papa are happy with the maintenance of that haircut, I think you've won the day. 5 stars. Everybody is so, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you not to push yourself to better yourself or anything, but don't ever think that you'll just be ruled out because you only give comfort grooms.
Right.
I'm going to say a full 85% of all the people at the competition level give comfort grooms. They don't do show grooms or whatever. Unless you're a show groomer and you show dogs, you very rarely get a show dog in a regular salon. I mean, some have them more than others because they are at a level where that's the only clientele they take in, and that's fine. But literally, there's 90% of the pet population that is not being served because they don't require that level of grooming. You know, it's amazing to learn, you know, scissor over comb and all the correct proportions for all the breeds. And I do encourage everyone to do that because it improves you as a person. You learn a lot for you, as well as how to serve those pets better. But at the end of the day, they are pets. And some of them do get high waters. And some of them do look funky when they go home. And sometimes one ear is longer than the other simply because their ear sets are crooked. There's a million different pets that need whatever. You know, mom's on a pension. She doesn't care. She just wants it short and clean. That is the 100% best you can do for that client owner relationship. And I think that we discount that a lot of times when you hear people speak that have been in the industry for a long time. We think, oh, well, I'm not at that level. I'm not at that level. You don't have to be, but you do have to be kind. You have to be compassionate. You have to give a good bath and not cut them up with your scissors and your clippers. Right. I mean, those are the basics. And I think you've won the day if you're just doing that at this point. Definitely try to improve. Definitely try to get better and sharpen your techniques. Learn proportion. Learn more gentle handling techniques. Animal handling and animal observation are key in this field to make sure that everybody's doing everything great and to make sure your mindset is in the right place. Because if you go in angry, then everybody's angry. Every dog on your table will be difficult if you go in with a bad mindset, with a bad attitude, because they read that and they know that. So I would just recommend absolutely start. And I think the best way to start is to make an outline. So let's say we're going to do, I don't know, shaving kitty bellies, you know. So what do you know about shaving kitty bellies? Well, we know that their skin is really thin. We know that it's very delicate areas. You could very well clip off a nipple if the pelt is very tight. So learn everything about that. If that's your favorite, learn everything about that and then start making an outline. Going to do kitty bellies. Kitty bellies are delicate. Sometimes they're pelted. Sometimes you clip a nipple. How to hold, how to do this. Just list everything on a document or a piece of paper or however that you're going to do. I think everybody's now digitally competent and you can open up a Word document, or Open Office is a free document making service or program. And just start listing all the things that you know. And then each topic that you write down, make a paragraph out of it. Make a paragraph out of it. Make a paragraph. And then you have your whole script, if you will. Now you want to assemble pictures or other information. Uh-oh, we have an emergency.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I can't.
Oh my gosh. I can get mine
Yeah. All right.
No.
Okay. good girl. All right, carry on.
Everybody, all mine. It was like a mass exodus into the office.
Yeah.
Like, where is that coming from?
Yeah.
All right, it's
So,
fine.
what were we saying?
No freshness.
Oh yeah, start assembling your pictures together.
Yeah, just put your stuff together.
Yeah,
and
make it like a scrapbook, tell it like a story, or however it is that you have it laid out in your head, and then practice filming yourself. Just set your camera up and film yourself talking about it. Okay, and then you'll notice things about your speaking style that you really hate. Oh, I say a lot, or I say like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You might scratch your head a lot or whatever. So you become aware of what you look like speaking. And then after you've done that, assemble everything together, and that's your first class. And that's basically how you start. So it could be anything. Let's say you don't want to teach about anything grooming. You're a groomer, and you love it, but maybe you want to speak about changing a tire or starting embroidery or whatever. You can make a class on almost anything, and you'll find your people. Your people will find you, because that's what they're looking for. Absolutely get a YouTube channel. If you don't have a website, get a free one that you can manage and start putting blog posts up on. And that's how you get known. You start a following. If you have an Instagram or a TikTok or Facebook, start doing your social media posts on there as well, to let people know that you are assembling together information to teach, and invite people to come and critique it and how you could improve it. And that's, once you get the bug and once you get that absolutely established, then you start really growing, and you say, oh, well, I can have a class about this. I can have a class about that. And it builds and builds. And then you have a course. And then you have something to offer to the big expos, and, maybe even start local. If you have a local pet expo, see if you can get in there with a booth or teach a class. I think that's probably the best way to do it if you don't have any other connections, because we are all connected socially. And we absolutely can go into other grooming salons. You can invite your local dog breed clubs, to hear you speak about their topic or your topic. So there's a lot of different things.
Noni, stop making all that noise. You're going around on the floor like a crazy dog behind me, making all that noise.
Well, I mean, I did have a banshee, so.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it happens. Or I'm not even going to edit that out. I'm just going to let you enjoy it.
Leave that in there. Leave that right there.
That's my life. And I didn't even teach her how to do that.
Oh my God.
Don taught her how to do that. And we lived in the country at the time, and the fire department was right down the street, but it was like a country miles kind of street.
Right.
So you just heard it faintly, and he taught her to do that. And now that we live in the city and the fire department is like 2 blocks away. Oh yeah. Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. And you have to do it, because in her little brain, if you don't, she can't handle it. Like, she has to do it. It's her job.
I was gonna say it's her purpose in life.
It really is. It really is. So here we are.
I'm of the mindset where if you feel that calling and you know who you are, that you, I knew I wanted to teach from the get-go. I would go to the shows and I would take classes, and long before the internet was ever a thing. And I used to think to myself, I really want to get up there and do this. And I had no idea how to do it or what the steps were. And, but I started to put my thought process into motion. So it wasn't, what I like to say is I wrote down a wish or a dream. I was dreaming of wanting to do that or wishing that I could do that. Mm-hmm. And I wrote it down, which gives it energy and makes it substantial. You know what I mean? It's now not just floating around in my noggin. Right. Now it's actually on paper, and I've written down, I want to teach. And so to me, that gives those words life. It gives it energy. And I left it at the top of my notebook for a long time for me to see. And little by little, opportunities came along for me to be able to begin that journey. It wasn't like jump in and I was teaching right away. I had my own shop. I got involved with the local grooming association. And then from there, we would hold meetings. And then we started talking about holding classes there and having other people teach. And then they eventually asked me if I wanted to teach. The first real grooming class that I ever taught was for the Grooming Association in Arizona. And it was on Cocker Spaniels and about the care and the history of that. Well, the care of the coat and the history of the breed.
And that's something you knew very well because you were showing at the time.
Right.
Correct?
And so, yeah. And so my business primarily was probably 70% Cocker Spaniel. And then the rest was a smattering of other breeds. And so, and then I actually groomed a Cocker Spaniel in front of everyone. And I was nervous as could be. And it was in my own shop, and I just still felt like everybody's going to critique my groom. Everybody's going to
Oh yeah. People will judge you. Absolutely. Sometimes for no reason. Oh no, she did great on the dog, but did you see her shoes? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
People they will judge you, and that's fine. And you have to let that roll off.
But I also took it in the sense that was very early in my career. I was still learning. And so one of the groomers had used a comment, the guard combs, clip combs. The lady was an older groomer, and she called it a duck. And so she said, "What duck did you use on the legs and skirt or whatever?" Because I showed a modified trim, pet trim. And I said, "Duck, what's a duck?" And I had never heard that term before. And so, of course, they got hysterical, all the older groomers, and they were like,
it's an older brand of clipper comb.
Yes.
Duck comb. What size duck are you using?
So, and they were like, "You don't know what a duck is," and blah, blah. And so I said, "No, but educate me. What is it?" And
did you hand scissor in the trim?
Yeah, I used the clip comb to set the length, and then I went through and
you had just used a more modern one at the time, so it didn't come in a duck box. No, is that what it was? So, I can dig that. Yeah.
So they were the company was Double Duck, and so they would call the combs ducks, and I had never heard that term before, so it didn't deter me. I wasn't so wrecked that I was like, "Oh no," they laughed and I didn't know what that term was or whatever. No, I used that moment to be a teachable moment. So instruct me. So tell me what it is.
And I want to tell everybody out there too, if you think, "Oh, I don't know all the right terminology," and they're going to laugh, guess what? Every single salon that I've ever been in, groomed in, whatever, they all have their own terminology.
Yeah.
It's not even standardized in that way. Like, we do have standards, the Master Groomer Council of Best Practices. You should visit that website. But however, we all develop a language, a terminology of the salon. When I first started coming up, there was a bunch of 7x2s. Do you know what 7x2 is?
No.
It's a 7. You shave it before, wash it, and then shave it again to smooth it out.
7x2.
That's all it was. And when I went to other salons, I said, "Oh yeah, it's a 7x2." They were like, "What?"
Right.
There are salons that only pick the blade length by the millimeter that it cuts. I could never do that. I can't. I'm not memorizing that. It's a 7 or a 5 or a 5, whatever. That's all.
That's how
a 7 fine or a 7. Right. And then I go by the color of the combs, but then
Yeah.
they came out with a bunch that are all gray. So I'm like, okay, how's that going to happen? So out
Yeah.
comes the fingernail polish. So yeah, you develop your own thing. So don't be afraid of those little things. Yeah, it's scary. And yeah, it feels scary to be laughed at or critiqued or whatever. But guess what? Every single one of us has been where you're standing. Every single one of us didn't know something that everybody else knew. And until you go through that, you won't know. If you're afraid of people, making fun of you or whatever, it's all in good fun, mostly.
Well, it's just the fact that you're never going to know everything. So if you approach it that way and say, I'm teaching from exactly where my knowledge base is. Mm-hmm. And so if there's someone there that has a more extensive knowledge base and they say to you, oh, well, you could do this, this, and this as well. Fantastic. Illuminate me,
mm-hmm.
But you also have to, and Michelle was there when we were doing the class together. And you also have to know when to be able to be in control of your class, and you're in control of your information, the flow of that information, how you're presenting it, and you can't let someone hijack your class either. Which early on for me, I had someone do that, and so it degrades you because now you've let this person who is not teaching the class take over the information. Correct. So you have to be diplomatic in the way that you deal with that. You even may have someone who is what I like to call a chronic questioner. And
there's one in every class.
And you only have a certain amount of time to get through this information. And you have it timed because you've practiced this and now you're teaching in front of a class of people. And you have that one person that has a question after every statement you make. And so again, they hijack the class. And that in itself makes the rest of the people drop off. Their attention doesn't stay. So
they want that other person to please hush so we could listen to what she's saying. And a lot of times you can absolutely just say, you know what? You've got great questions. Why don't you write them all down and I'll address them after the seminar or after the class is over. And then you keep rocking your information. Keep it moving. Just say, oh, I only have 15 more minutes to present this. And there's a lot of information to go over, but I'm going to get to every question after the class. And that way you are relaxed and everybody's standing around waiting to ask their question, and they can ask as many questions as they want to. But just have them make sure that everybody has something to write on and write with, and just say, if you have questions, and there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, hold your questions until the end of the seminar. I like to take questions if they pertain to the immediate material.
Right.
Because it's in the moment and they're thinking about it. But if they start asking question after question, I'm like, ooh, why don't you write all those down and we're going to address those at the end. And that's a way to take your power back, basically, and continue to speak on the subject that you were either paid for or hired for.
Right. It's a flow. It has to be a synergistic flow between you and the audience that's listening to the information or the students. And so you need to keep that rhythm going. Otherwise, you'll lose them as well. So that's always important, that if you understand the fact that you're not the end all be all, that you don't know everything about this subject, but what you are presenting in this 1 hour is this block of information that you know and understand.
You're presenting your passion about the subject. It doesn't have to be all encompassing and every question is answered and every research paper has been researched and all this other stuff. I think sometimes we get off in the weeds a little bit in our educator capacity sometimes, and we can just make it so complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you're speaking from your heart and from your perspective, knowing full well that you're not an expert, but you're an expert on what you know.
Right.
And then you can carry it forward. But you just can't be, if you really have a passion and you want to teach or you want to speak or write a blog, then I just suggest you go for it. Just start doing it, because if you start doing it, you'll start to get better as you do it more.
Yeah, well, it's like an exercise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really is. We don't often think about, when we take classes, we don't often think about the preparation that goes into putting that information together.
Mm-hmm.
We think of that person as just knowing, you know? And so, while that's a wonderful thing, they don't just know that information. Mm-hmm. They had to spend time to gather that information and then be able to dismantle it and put it back together in a way that they're going to keep you interested and engaged in learning about that topic. So it's kind of like a puzzle. And a lot of times when I do my classes, I always start with a written outline, and I do like a kind of like a family tree, you know, mm-hmm. where the main topic is in the center, and then mm-hmm. I branch off onto all the points that I want to cover. And mm-hmm. a lot of times I have to cross out things because it's too much information.
Right.
And so it takes a lot of thought and preparation. So you have to be semi-organized in the sense where you can organize the information in a way that is palatable, you know, where the people actually listening or sitting in the class, watching you teach this class, are going to stay engaged with it. Mm-hmm. You'll see if you go to some of the shows, sometimes you'll just see people get up and walk out in the mm-hmm. middle of the speaker speaking or whatever. And, you know, it's like, it wasn't engaging to them. They weren't.
Or it could be a myriad of different reasons. They might have to use the restroom. Right. They may have to take medication. They may have forgotten something. There's a million reasons.
They may be popping in and out, going to different classes as well, which we've had.
Right. Or your class may not be what they particularly wanted to see. So they're going to cut their losses and go to another class. And that has to be okay. Don't take it personally.
You can't take that personally. Absolutely. Right. And make sure that you talk to people and ask, and people that were in there, and ask, you know, how was that? Did you enjoy the class? Whatever. The greatest testimony, I guess, is when someone takes your class and then they post it on their social media that they enjoyed the class, or they mm-hmm. might have a picture from the class or whatever it is. That's always great, because therein it becomes a commercial for your class.
Absolutely.
You know, so encourage those things. You know, if you're really enjoying this, feel free to post and, you know, tag me in it or whatever. So that way it's twofold. You have word of mouth and you're generating buzz that your class is worthy of taking. Mm-hmm. Because just like you would go to your phone and Google whatever, looking for restaurants, you're going to look for reviews or the best, you know, veterinarian or whatever it is. That's what that does for you. You know, It gives you a credibility that other people, other groomers are saying, hey, this was a good class. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you want to encourage those kind of things as well. Mm-hmm. It's always nice to get positive feedback, but sometimes when you get that negative feedback, when you get, it was a little long-winded, or I didn't get the flow of the information, or I've had people even say to me, there was so much information, I was lost.
Mm. Well, that's something you do have to work on.
Yeah.
Not now as much as you did when you first started. But I remember when you first did your first PowerPoint, she had the whole slide just covered in small print, and she just wanted to put her entire education on like 3 slides. And I'm like, ooh, you got to spread that out. You know, and even then, sometimes it's confusing for some people, and that's fine. You can't get 100% of your audience all the time.
But you need to take stock and listen to the both ends of feedback, because that's how you learn the most.
Right.
And when you first start, you're always so gung-ho and you want to give everything you have, but you have to reserve so that you can't. Mary taught me that. Mary was like, no, hold some things back so you do level 2, or you do, the next step up, or whatever it is, the addition to this, or,
I can't take you. Yeah. I can't take you from learning about the needs of the skin to how to do an anesthetized groom in 1 hour. I can't do that. It comes in levels. You have to do that step by step and build on the previous knowledge that you have. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but literally mostly it's just getting started. And once you see how it morphs, it's going to become a lot easier for you to make a new class, to expand on the older class.
I actually taught a class that I almost always have PowerPoints. Almost always. It just gives them something to look at. And I mean, you can do Google Slides, whatever. I just happen to have Microsoft.
Right.
But the projector wasn't working. And it just would not work. And it wouldn't connect to my computer, whatever. So I had to teach the class. And it was a pretty big class. And it was a 4-hour class. And I had to be the only thing they looked at, that they had to look at. So you have to be able to roll with those punches and be able to know that if your PowerPoint doesn't load or your slides don't load, you can go through with that and still be interactive with your audience or with your students and just pull it all together.
Absolutely. As long as you're talking, you're speaking. And people will listen, if you really are passionate about it, that's going to transfer to your audience and they're going to get excited about it too. Because if you're not excited about it, how's anybody else going to be excited about it? Don't be afraid to do a little bit of acting. Don't be afraid to crack jokes or be a little funny. I think that works for me the best because I teach some heavy subjects and sometimes I just have to lighten it up. I'm like, that's just how it is. So alrighty then. There was dog crises in the dog world.
Barking.
Yeah, I don't edit. Whatever we speak about, that's how it's cutting in the can. I don't edit at all.
Well, and I'm fine with that. It was just they got so loud. My husband's coming home from work. Yeah, it's a lot. It's 11 Shih Tzus barking, or 8 Shih Tzus barking, and then my other smattering of breeds that live here.
I have a train whistle that I live with, but that's a lot.
They got excited. Dad's home, so
fair.
How that goes. They're happy.
Anyway, I mean, I think is there anything you need to say more about it?
No, I just think your title is perfect. Just do it. Go out there and then start doing it. Start easily. The easiest way to do it is to do a live and just go live or make a little recording and upload your recording.
And always, if you have any questions or want to continue learning from us or whatever, please send us a message. We're open to mentoring someone. Both Melissa and I have separate classes, together classes. We should have more together classes.
I know.
But we will gladly help you out and get you started. And hopefully we'll call you a colleague before too long.
Yeah. That would be nice. We could use more.
Absolutely. We could use more. So until next week, we love you and we hope
thank you for
we wish you every success, and we want to see what you produce. We want to see your classes because our hard and crusty selves need to straighten up and see what's out there and see what fresh ideas and fresh perspectives. I still go to classes all the time. So I'm really interested in seeing what you produce. And may your next sip be just as delicious as your last. We love you.
Yes.